You are listening to Leading the Factory Forward with your host, Lynn Friest. We share interviews with manufacturing experts and strategies for embracing the digital future, recruiting a new workforce, finding new business. Lynn is an advanced manufacturing strategist and leadership consultant who is on a mission to show manufacturing leaders how to improve their current operations while preparing for a digital future. And here's your host, Lynn Friest.
Welcome to part 4 of what you need to know about leading with emotional intelligence. In this post, I'm going to introduce the concepts and my thinking around the final 4 competencies of emotional intelligence: coaching and mentoring, conflict management, teamwork, and inspirational leadership. As in part 3, we're now moving from the competencies focused on you to those competencies around your interaction with others. This is where both the hard work and the magic can happen. This is where you can move from having an impact on just yourself to creating value and progress for your whole factory and organization. This is also where you as a leader can begin moving your time from being the leader who is just speaking to the leader who is also listening. As an example, many leaders use what's called the pace-setting style of leadership. This is where all of your focus is on hitting near-term targets. It may mean that you are only communicating to your team where there are gaps and problems. While this may be needed in a few situations, in the long term, it can be toxic to developing and sustaining a high-performing team. So again, my goal in these series is to create an awareness in these skills and behaviors and enable you to maybe take a few first steps. As I have mentioned in earlier episodes, I have given you just a beginning on what I have learned about emotional intelligence so far. It can truly take a lifetime to pursue mastery of these skills. And as noted in the show notes, you can develop further and faster by taking some more formal training that might be available to you. So once again, to start, just a review of the definitions. Emotional intelligence sounds like a very daunting word, but in the end, as we look through these skills and competencies, it's really common sense. It simply hasn't been common practice in our work and in the world. As Daniel Goleman says, emotional intelligence is a different way of being smart. It's a key to high performance at all levels, particularly for outstanding leadership. It's not your IQ, it's how you manage yourself and your relationships. Now, certainly in manufacturing, as I've said before, technical skills are always going to be important. But at a certain point, it's actually how well you work with people and employees that will really make a difference. Again, there are 4 broad domains of emotional intelligence. First is self-awareness, understanding your own emotions and how they affect you. The second is self-management, the ability to moderate or manage your emotions. The third is social awareness, being able to sense others' emotions. And then we get into relationship management. How do we work with others to create positive outcomes for everyone? So our first competency in this episode is coaching and mentoring. What is it? In its simplest terms, coaching and mentoring is helping others with their long-term development and growth. It is giving useful feedback and not just judgmental feedback. It's supporting others as they go through challenges and setbacks that will lead to growth and eventually improve performance. Why is it important? People don't really build skills and grow their abilities in classrooms. They have to be practicing and using skills and knowledge to become proficient. You as their leader can accelerate their growth through coaching and mentoring in the moment. Helping the people you lead to understand their strengths and grow them, as well as understanding how to manage or moderate their weaknesses, will help you build a more effective and a higher performing team. The more your team grows, the more leverage they can provide to the team and the organization's success. What are the pain points if we lack this skill? If you're only providing negative or judgmental feedback, it can demoralize people and eventually lead them to being disengaged. Employees who feel they are not growing or supported in their development are more likely to leave the organization. So how can we start to build this skill? Here are 3 ideas. Think about a time someone helped you in your career with development. What happened? How did you feel when you received that help from them? Next, in your own career, what would help you develop faster and go farther? What are the kinds of things you'd like to have happen to you? And then finally, who are examples of other leaders that you have seen developing great people? Our second competency in this episode is conflict management. What is it? As a leader, managing conflict or competing ideas or plans is one of your key tasks. How can you manage the tensions and emotions to bring about forward progress in your organization's objectives? Why is it important? To achieve remarkable results, you need to be able to hold a space for a diversity of ideas. Shutting down other ideas too early can limit the possibilities. If every disagreement is a win-lose proposition, then people tend to become disengaged. You need to have the ability to strive for a both-and perspective. Creative solutions come from a diversity of ideas. We need to manage the creative tension. In maybe simpler terms, how do we fight fair about our different ideas? What are the pain points if we lack this skill? Often disagreements on small elements of an idea or project can keep us from seeing that we agree on most of the elements. If you always have winners and losers on a team, it can limit the long-term success of that team. If you cannot hold a space for competing ideas, you may miss out on a great solution. So how can we start to build this skill? Again, 3 ideas. Consider your last 5 team meetings. What was the tone of the meeting around different ideas? Was there only one idea advanced, or were there several? As you confront a situation of conflict, can you approach it with curiosity? Can you at least explore the thinking of others on different ideas? Finally, can you listen deeply and completely to someone else's idea, even when you may disagree with it? Managing conflict is a special skill, but it can be learned, and there are a great many resources that you might use to get better at it. So our third competency in this episode is teamwork. What is it? Teamwork has a lot of definitions, and for our purposes, I'll suggest we say that it's working with a group of people to accomplish a goal. I'll also say that in today's workplace of matrix organizations, worldwide teams, and networks, it's less likely that you as a leader will have complete authority over your teams. Why is it important? We have all seen groups of great individuals who were ineffective. Great individual skills may not guarantee team success. In Google's investigation of teams, the Project Aristotle, they discovered there were 2 key factors. The first, a sense of psychological safety with the team members. And second, the team members were able to speak with relative equal amounts of time. So those are 2 things that, in Google's research, seem to affect great teamwork. What are the pain points if we might lack this skill? If teams are in fear or they're anxious, there may be less engagement of the team members. And with less engagement, teams can't really leverage their variety of strengths and build on one another's work. Very few great results can be accomplished by just a group of individual contributors. So how can we start to build this skill? There are 3 ideas. Think about, do your team members feel safe in sharing new or different or contrasting ideas? Does everyone on the team have about an equal chance to contribute? Do you ask for contributions when team members have not spoken up on their own? Does everyone wait for you, the team leader, to make any decisions? Or do they suggest ideas and decisions before you talk? So again, just some things around how to build teamwork. And there are obviously many resources on how you can do that out there. Well, our fourth and final competency in this episode and for this series is inspirational leadership. Just to start with a quote here, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." It's from Friedrich Nietzsche. This competency is about giving your team a purpose for their work and not just a task or a target, helping them answer the question, why should I be committing to do this? It's also about building a shared understanding among the team and you as their leader. So why is it important? In today's fast and disruptive world, plans, tasks, and even goals can constantly change. Our teams need to know something of the big picture so that they can make informed decisions in the moment of need. Having your team truly commit to a project versus being compliant with a set of tasks will improve the quality and the speed of the project completion. What are the pain points if we lack this skill? Trying to move a team forward who is only compliant is exhausting for a leader and often impossible. When the inevitable setbacks occur, you as a leader will have to handle them all, rather than having the team being able to handle some of them. So how can we start to build this skill? Here are 3 ideas. Ask your team to share what they know is the purpose of your team. Is it the same as you thought? Ask individual team members what attracts them to working on this team. Finally, share your picture of the team's purpose and see what the team has to say in response to that. Do they agree? Do they see it differently? Find out what their picture is. So that concludes this episode of these 4 competencies as well as this series on emotional intelligence. The questions I posed to you and the resources will be available in the show notes. So again, I always like to say how to begin today. Obviously, you can pick out a couple of the questions that were shared above and make some notes during this week on what you might have noticed or even seen about how you feel or reacted to these questions or the events that went on. To change your impact in life and work, you just need to pay attention to different things than you may have paid attention to in the past. So again, this concludes our series on the basics of emotional intelligence. Please consider looking into some of the resources provided in the show notes. And if you have further interest in developing your skills as a leader, please contact me. Again, thanks for sharing your time and attention, and best wishes for your success on your leadership journey. The next series in Leading the Factory Forward will be a little bit more tactical. In the next series, we're going to be talking about how work gets done through great conversations and great meetings. Again, skills that we can learn and skills that we can apply better. So please look at the resources. And as I've said earlier in our podcast, as leaders in manufacturing, we want you to keep learning and earning and creating great products out there. Thank you.